I have an amazing story I wanted to share. There's about 3 or 4 points I hope you pick up on and utilize along your journey in the real estate process. If it's doing subject to deals or just being a good landlord or a person, you're gonna see that these things all intertwine together by making a deal happen and investing it. There's a set. Went down where we purchased the property the day before Thanksgiving from a seller. Okay, and this took about 6 or 7 months to make it work because there was a lot of moving parts in this deal. Okay, but to start backwards, she initially wanted to be a tenant of mine 5 years ago, and she came into the office when I was not there. We talked on the phone to give a security deposit to put down on a rental, and she wanted to rent from me. She gave it to an assistant of mine, but the assistant never recorded it, stole the money, and actually quit a couple days later. Then when she came back, the potential tenant, she actually found the property that she was going to buy. So she needed a security deposit back. She wound up getting an attorney and suing me. However, when I talked to the attorney, the employee of mine was no longer around because I addressed it to her. I knew that it was the employee who took the security deposit, and I had to make amends with the potential tenant. Anyway, give the security deposit back to this woman, and she sporadically every year would send me love through Facebook, like thinking of you, just wanted to let you know I tell people about that you buy houses and this and that. She approached me 6 months ago, and she was really upset, was behind on her mortgage, and didn't really know anything from a complexity of how to get out of the situation she was in. And I remember she just said, Mario, all I did was, I know you do real estate. I know if there's anyone that knows how to get out of a tricky situation, it would be you. I wanted to call you and tell you my story. I don't want to get in all the details of it, but she was behind about 3 months on her mortgage. The heater that she had was not working, and wintertime's coming. So she was behind on bills. She just had some bad luck along the way with her finances and needed a heater. I was talking to her about how much was she in arrears, and she was about $6,000 in arrears. I had my HVAC guy go there. The heater was about $5,000. So from a number standpoint for me, it was about $11,000 all in between catching her up on her mortgage as well as the heater to get situated. I also explained to her I could take over her mortgage, but it would stay in her name, as well as pay off the previous debt. Me doing that would take the whole part of not dealing with the mortgage anymore, and she doesn't have to deal with the stress of paying it. The second part was, did she want to stay? I asked her, I was like, do you like this house? Do you want to stay there? She said yes. When I talked to her, she's over 60 years old and she works, so she has the income to support staying there. I asked her what was the reason why she couldn't afford it. She had some health issues, but also her daughter just moved in. She was going through a divorce and had a couple of her daughter's kids as well that were 18 years old. I asked her, could I meet her family at her house and talk to all of them collectively? They all came to agreement that they would all chip in and pay $1,750 per month. Because I told the seller what I had to do was, by putting all my capital out, by paying off her mortgage as well as getting a heater, I would need her to pay an increase in rent. It's not market rent in the area, by the way, is about $2,200. I was charging her $1,750 to stay at the property. And then what you would ask yourself is, why would this seller not just, since she has a plan, has all the means to cover the mortgage, why doesn't she just pay the mortgage directly instead of paying me $1,750? She feels more comfortable paying me, knowing that she has someone that is the willingness to take care of the property when it's needed. And as people get older, they just don't want to deal with some things. She'd rather pay more to having an insurance policy, which is me. That's the construction of why people at times will pass on having a mortgage versus having someone be their landlord and they lease it back to them. I'm leasing back the property to the same exact person who's the seller. So the seller is leasing it back from me. In the title search, there is a lien that pops up with the ex-boyfriend of the seller's daughter. okay? The ex-boyfriend of the seller's daughter has a personal guarantee of a debt of $25,000 on his property. This was a new wrench thrown into this whole plan of me taking over the mortgage. That's why it took months to figure it out. I connected with the note holder, who was the ex-husband or boyfriend, and we came to agreement of giving him $5,000 at closing and then monthly payments for the remaining $10,000 in debt. It was originally $24,000. We were able to come to agreement for $15,000. And the reason why it was $15,000 was because of all the additional debts that I had to take on. I told him, I was like, he's gonna have to work, you're gonna have to work with me to make this work for the seller and the family, and your kids are also staying there. So what I had to come to the closing table with was $5,000 to the note holder. I spoke with his attorney, and he was going to take the additional $10,000 in payment plans for 18 months. So his attorney drafted this document, and I'm going to pay the mortgage monthly as well as the monthly promissory note to the seller's daughter's ex-boyfriend. Okay. Crazy setup, but that's when you deal with these complex deals. I wanted to break it off into parts to understand how you can put it together and still make it work from a number standpoint. We're going to pay the mortgage, pay him, and then the seller who's leasing it back to me is going to pay me, and I'm going to distribute the funds. Why does the deal make sense for me from an investing standpoint? The seller had a debt of $125,000 on the property. The home is worth $220,000 when it is HGTV complete. The home needs about $15,000 in, to me, overall repairs. It's in pretty good shape. It needs a new heater, needs some paint and some updating. However, I think it's a tremendous asset. I love the location. It's near a historic monument in the town. So for me, I had a good connection with the home. I knew the area, and I looked at it long term. Everybody else involved in this situation can win. The baby daddy is going to actually get something from the note he had on the property because he was getting paid. The lender is going to get satisfied because the debt that they were behind for 3 months, I'm going to pay and continue to pay the mortgage. And then the seller is going to be able to stay in the exact same property with a plan that I put in place and provide her a heater. By making those three things happen, it also allowed me to capitalize by looking at all the different situations involved in this transaction to make it work. I'm also going to have a HUD so you can see that I came to the closing table with $5,400 to go to closing. You can buy a property for less than, if I didn't have to pay the $5,000, you can buy and own a home for as little as $1,000 by transferring a mortgage in a subject to. They don't just happen. My experience by doing all the subject twos that I've done, sellers have to feel comfortable with you. They have to trust you. They have to know that you will pay the mortgage in the person's name because they're still carrying the trust. Has a lot to do with subject to. Being a trustworthy person will allow you to have those type of opportunities. And what gave me the trust with the seller was when she sued me initially, I gave her back the security deposit, even though my employee stole it from her, and I told her the truth of the whole situation. And for years, it resonated with her to come back to me to talk about the situation that she was in. The whole moral of the story is doing good, doing the right thing, and being able to look different opportunities and different things, like Ray Dalio says, in a triangular approach. Seeing all the different angles, the different possibilities of putting a deal together. With creativity in mind, you can make anything happen. Sometimes you make some mistakes here in life, and I did not pick the right exterior paint color, and I will show you that in a second. However, subscribe, share this video, using creativity, being a good human being. Hopefully there's value. Please take some snippet of the nuggets that I gave you and you can utilize for your own personal well-being. This is not about me. I'd love to help you guys out. Please let me know if there's anything else I can do to help you out.